There's no doubt they're interesting right now, but I suspect that they will continue to get so, even more so. The purpose of today is that the county is going to have a declaration of public health emergency. I want to thank everybody that participated in this morning's meeting to allow us to get to this point. Mayor Handren from the city of Boerne, Mayor Benitez from the city of Fair Oaks, thank you for being here again today too. This is a unified effort to try to remain as calm as we possibly can. And I think both mayors will have comments and they'll talk about that a little bit more in greater depth after I get finished here. But I'm going to read, it's not a terribly long declaration, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. So we'll have it on, I think this is being live streamed, I suspect, so we'll have it so if people have any interest in it. We'll also have this posted on our website too, wherever Sally is. Thank you, as soon as we get this adopted. There will be Commissioners Court action on this, next Monday to ratify, or whatever word we want to better use. But I'm going to go ahead and start now. It's the Declaration of Public Health Emergency. Whereas I, Darrell L. Lux, Kendall County Judge, am issuing the Declaration of Public Health Emergency pursuant to the authority granted to me under the Texas Disaster Act of 1975 to declare a public health emergency and order the implementation of certain directives as further set out herein. And whereas on March 12, 2020, officials from a surrounding county and city confirmed the first case of travel-related COVID-19. And whereas pursuant to the Disaster Act of 1975, the county judge may declare a local state of disaster, and in for the county may exercise the powers granted herein on an appropriate local scale. And whereas Kendall County will continue to work collaboratively with the city of Boerne, the city of Fair Oaks, Kendall County employees, as well as local health authority to ensure that all appropriate measures are undertaken to limit the spread of COVID-19 within Kendall County. And whereas pursuant to the authority granted to the county judge under the Texas Disaster Act of 1975, I authorize the use of all available resources of state government and political subdivisions to assist the county's response to the situation. Now therefore be it declared by the county judge of the county of Kendall, number one, that a local state of disaster and public health emergency is hereby declared throughout Kendall County pursuant to 418.108A of the Texas Government Code. Number two, pursuant to 418.1089B of the Government Code, the state of disaster and public health emergency shall continue for a period of not more than 7 days from the date of this declaration unless continued or renewed by the Kendall County Commissioners Court. Pursuant to 418.108C of the Government Code, this declaration of a local state of disaster and public health emergency shall be given prompt and general publicity and shall be filed promptly with the county clerk. Number four, pursuant to 418-108D of the Texas Government Code, this declaration of a local state of disaster and public health emergency activates Kendall County's Boerne's Emergency Management Plan, as well as all appropriate recovery and rehabilitation aspects of the Emergency Management Plan, and authorize the furnishing of aid and assistance as necessary or appropriate. Number five, pursuant to the authority granted under the laws of the state of Texas, this declaration authorizes Kendall County to take any actions necessary to promote health and suppress disease throughout Kendall County, including quarantine, examining and regulating hospitals, regulating ingress and egress throughout Kendall County, and any impacted areas. Number six, pursuant to the statutory authority vested in me as the presiding officer of the County of Kendall, I issue guidance as set out within the declaration regarding public and private gatherings and related matters, attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit 1 and Attachment 1A. As the county judge and presiding officer of the County of Kendall, I further reserve all other authority and powers conferred by state law to respond as necessary to the situation which is the subject of this declaration. This declaration shall take effective immediately from and after its issuance, declared the 16th day of March 2020. There will be some time for questions afterwards. Mayor Handren.
Thank you, Judge, and thanks for all that you and Mayor of Fair Oaks have been doing as we worked very closely together on this is an unprecedented time in our lives. I did prepare a couple of comments because today's a day I never anticipated as your mayor, much less a citizen of this community. However, I want everyone watching this broadcast to know that all of us take this COVID-19 threat extremely seriously. Most importantly, we implore people to remain calm as we all go through the situation together. For those that didn't see the posting from Saturday, we had 40 leaders from this community, from the county, the cities of Boerne and Fair Oaks, the first responders, medical professionals, and others to discuss the situation. We went through a lot of detail, and it gave me a much, much deeper appreciation for the seriousness by which everyone has taken this. At the moment, we are not in an emergency status, and there is no reason to panic right now. None of us know exactly what the next few weeks will hold, but we are monitoring and responding to the hourly changes as quickly as possible. We unanimously endorse the Centers for Disease Control guidelines as the key source of information on how to handle COVID-19. We will remain vigilant and engaged with the health officials daily until this situation passes. And today we're declaring a public health emergency for several reasons. First and foremost, in our minds, it is all about public safety. This declaration is about prevention and ensuring we don't overwhelm the medical systems here in Kendall County as well as in Boerne County. And this declaration also gives us access to federal dollars that may be necessary if the situation worsens. We're committed to frequent, consistent, proactive communication to our community members, and there will be continuous communication about our plans to the entire community. As the judge said, the county commissioners will be taking action on this next week, and city council will be taking action on this declaration next week as well. There's several really important messages I hope everyone takes away from today. First, please stay calm. Demonstrate civility with your fellow human beings. Second, we take this very seriously. We're working together daily, hourly at times to communicate with each other and take the appropriate actions. And last, we all understand the impact, both financial and emotional, that this is having on the community. While we can't wave a magic wand to make this all disappear, we're committed to working together to get through this health crisis together. And I've seen unprecedented working together with the three bodies that are represented up here. In addition to the declaration that the judge has done, the city of Boerne is also doing a similar declaration. I'm not going to read it because it has the same qualities and the same characteristics that the judge just read. It'll have one additional thing from a city of Boerne standpoint, and as mayor, I am directing the city of Boerne utility personnel to suspend disconnection of utility services for non-payment during the term of this declaration. Now, that's not a declaration that you don't have to pay your utility bills. That's a declaration that if we come upon hard times, the city of Boerne is being cognizant of that. We're being compassionate as we go through this. I would add to this, the other thing that we're declaring in our declaration is we're following the CDC guidelines, and we are disallowing the aggregation of people, mass gatherings of greater than 50 in the county. That will start tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. So we are following CDC guidelines, and we're asking everyone to follow those guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to first of all just thank my colleagues from Kendall County and the city of Boerne. Fine job of getting everyone included in this. I think the kind of cooperation we're seeing among our three entities is exactly the kind of cooperation I hope we will see in our entire community in addressing this problem. I saw one of the commentaries made the other day that suggested that this is a kind of problem that really won't be effectively fixed necessarily at the federal level as much as it will be at the local level, because at the local level where we take the actions to be able to stop the spread of the disease. And it's extremely important that we do that, because the biggest risk for all of us really is overwhelming the medical facilities that we have available. At our meeting Saturday, we were fortunate to have 5 or 6 physicians there, and that was the kind of the overwhelming message they gave, is you really do want to flatten out the spread of this virus so everybody doesn't get sick at one time. I think this is a manageable problem. I think what we're doing here is certainly not a time to panic. We're doing this so we don't have to panic, so we can deal with the problem in a very manageable manner. And I certainly ask all of our citizens to help with this. Do your part to be able to separate from each other so that we don't spread this disease around. And again, I just want to thank my colleagues here for their help in getting this done. It's been a very cooperative relationship and a living proof that we can take on a serious issue and not only preserve civility, but some sense of humor around the whole thing every now and then also, which is a characteristic of this group. So thank y'all for being here.
Jeff Fink, you want to come up and say a few words?
Don't panic.
That's only 2 words, but
the book.
Jeff Fink
He's gonna tell himself.
Really, the only thing I would have to offer beyond that is the cooperation that's being conducted by the three entities and everybody engaged. As they all said, we're watching this daily, hourly. It's not unusual to get up 2-3 times at night because some notification has changed with the CDC or anybody. As soon as there's any major changes or anything like that, Steve Perez and I, Steve is the emergency manager on the city side, we're in contact with these gentlemen to let them know what changes are, and if it's something needs to be enacted immediately, or is it something that can wait till the next morning. But again, it's just a cooperation in that, and we ask people just to be vigilant, just, go about your normal routines and understand that things are gonna change a little bit of how people and how businesses do their day-to-day businesses, but just be patient with them and we'll get through it and everything will be fine in the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Jeff is in charge of emergency operations for Kendall County. Mr. Perez, would you like to say a few words?
Just to reiterate kind of what Jeff Deeb said, that we're staying on top of it. There's all kinds of different avenues that we're monitoring between STRAC, Department of Health, emergency management for the state, and so we'll continue to monitor that and pass that information out.
Thank you. Mayor Benitez mentioned earlier about the meeting that we had on Saturday that Mayor Handren had put together for us. He mentioned the medical community, and that was extremely important for me to get a better idea because it's hard to come up with a plan if you don't really understand the situation. And the situation is going to continue to change, there's no doubt about it. But also, we invited representatives from HEB and from Walmart who both were there. Mr. Pedroza mentioned at that time, of course, they've already implemented the changing of their hours from 8 to 8. And then now, since then, Walmart has changed theirs from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., I believe. But we ask you to be kind, to do the best you can whenever, to buy what you need, but buy what you need. I mean, but it helps increase, the concern is when you go to a location and you find empty shelves. So that's what they're doing now. They're stocking at night so they can, start the next day. And I know they've set record sales, which they're not really that excited about because of, the demand. So anyway, just remember, we're all in this together. We'll come out of it together. Let's just be as patient as we possibly can. Is there any questions from in the audience? I suspected that. Crystal Henry from there.
I have one. When you're talking about it's going to open up the possibility of funding from the federal government, what would those funds be used for?
They would be for any types of expenses that are incurred, for us being able to combat this type of epidemic or virus that we're dealing with. We'll find out more later if necessary. Hopefully, we won't get to that point. But this is just a precautionary measure to establish, because until you make the declaration, you don't become eligible for funds.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing has been said about churches and church services with 50 people in it. Were they included in any?
I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that earlier. The attachments speak to both of those. Exhibit A, Exhibit 1, and then the attachment 1A. But churches, grocery stores type things are exempt from this type of thing. It's mostly, and it's got a definition of mass gathering and things in the back of this. So instead of going through each one of those, I have copies of this for everybody, and both of the mayors have brought copies of the potential declaration that they're going to have, so we can give those to the media or anybody that would like to take them with.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You bet. Again, Ms. Henry from the Bernie Star. Yeah.
I do. So I've talked to Jeff Fink before, and he said that your Kendall County is set up as a distribution center. Do you know if it's going to be, instead of a distribution center for medicine, like he's talked about before, if there was a vaccine, if there were medicines that could combat this, Kendall County would be set up for that. Will it change now to a distribution center for testing?
That is something Mr. Fink I would rather him address, if that's okay with you all.
Sure.
Currently, that is something that they are working on. Right now, the only drive-through tests are available are first responders in the communities. San Antonio is actually one of the pilot sites. So we're kind of watching and monitoring to see how that goes. They are talking long range, when there's enough test kits and things available out there, is setting up those type of deals. So it will be based on our point of dispensing plans, but in lieu of handing out pills or doing inoculation of some type, it'll be doing a test and then sending that. It'll be a slow process because there's a lot of information that you have to get from that person that's getting tested. And the other thing about it is they've already said up front early, if you don't have certain symptoms, you don't wait in line all day long because you're probably not going to get tested. You're going to have a couple of symptoms that pertain to this particular virus, and then you may or you may not get tested.
Now, this is going to continue to change. You know, both mayors and I have talked about this. I mean, you know, what we think today is could change tomorrow. Just like Saturday when we were talking, we were fully prepared to go with the CDC's recommendation of 500 per mass gathering. That 500 went down to 50 in 2 days. And so, you know, things will change in the future. We will, you know, I think we will be unanimous in continuing to go along with the recommendations of the CDC. They're best equipped to, you know, to give us guidance. So it's going to continue to change, and we're committed to make those changes as necessary. Anybody else? No. How do they do that? Yes.
It may be another one for Jeff. If someone in Kendall County thinks that they may have this, what is your recommended protocol so that we're not overwhelming emergency rooms and things like that? What's your recommended protocol?
Right now, if you go on the website to the State Department of Health Services, they have a hotline that you can call if you think that you may have been exposed or if you think you may have some of the signs and symptoms, and they will run you through an algorithm. And then they will recommend whether you contact your local EMS, whether you go to your physician, or you report to an ER. But they will give specific instructions on what to do when they do that, so you just don't walk into a crowded emergency room with those signs and symptoms. You know, and to allude to what the judge says about following the CDC guidelines, I think everybody has to understand is we rely a lot on the CDC, but everything that's being directed from that is not only just coming from the CDC, but it's coming from the World Health Organization, which is globally in other countries, as y'all are aware of, have a lot more serious problem than we do, and that's what we're trying to prevent. So we're relying a lot on information that the WHO provides the CDC, and then it trickles down to us.
If I could add one thing to that. I know it's been asked, we know of no confirmed cases in Kendall County at the moment. And like many of you, I watched the news releases last night about testing and what's going on from the White House. That information is still trickling down. We asked Jeff about that this morning in our meeting. When does the testing get more prolific in all these areas? And the answer to that is TBD. So we're waiting for a lot of the trickle-down information flow. The number of tests that are available right now are limited, and that's why it's limited to just the emergency personnel. That is coming, as we all heard last night, but it's not here.
Anyone else? Again, I thank you for your interest. I thank you mayors for your cooperation and, you know, continue to be diligent in our effort to protect our community and all of the great state of Texas in the United States and across the world. So thank you all for being here, and we will be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
At one point in time, there was 1,100 people watching that.
Wow, good.